All right, good morning now, official. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome. If everybody wants to maybe grab a seat, or if you want to stand, you're most welcome. Wherever that you are and you're comfortable, you're most welcome. Come on in, everyone. Come on in. Excellent. I begin in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Thank you all very much. Welcome to Open Mosque Day 2022. All right, we got one person that's excited. Excellent. It's like stand-up comedy up here, I think, But again, welcome everyone very much. If I can just have everyone's attention, I know we're excited and we have a really good energy going on, but I just want to make sure I get to some of the housekeeping and the logistics, and then we'll go ahead and proceed with the program. Again, thank you all very much for accepting our invitation. I am Jamel Zahin, the outreach coordinator here. You can call me Jay-Z for short. 7 years and that joke is still going. Kind of impressive, right? For some people, but for others, maybe not. So if you've been here 7 years, you're probably tired of that joke. But thank you all very much. I really appreciate you accepting our invitation. As you guys have probably heard, this is, of course, our first Open Mosque Day since 2019, the height of the pandemic, right? In person. So this is very exciting. And I'm just very thrilled and happy to see returning faces and to see so many new faces, right? So thank you all very much for taking time out on Sunday. Sunday usually is, of course, for many people, maybe it's service day. And that's why we are having a number of people that will be coming after their service. Sunday is also the day of like running errands. So you're doing your laundry, you're doing like all kinds of things. You're with family, but you sacrifice that time to be at a mosque on Sunday. That's pretty cool, man. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty cool. But I appreciate you guys sacrificing that time to be here with us today. And again, we are live streaming this event, and the reason for that is because we hit capacity. We wanted our community to also take part in it wherever they might be in the world, right? So anybody who's joining us online as well, welcome. Thank you all very much. I want to give you a little bit of a blueprint moving forward, a little sketch, if you will, of how we'll proceed. Momentarily, I'm going to call up our main tour guide for our short tour of the mosque today. We're going to start here in the multi-purpose room, kind of give you some information about the multi-purpose room. We will then transition into the lobby area, kind of let you guys know about our welcoming area. And then after that, we're going to go right inside the prayer hall, which is the main aspect of the mosque, right? Following that, then we're going to have our Islam, introduction to Islam, or Islam 101 presentation. It's basics, kind of like going over what Islam is all about and who Muslims are. So this is not a debate. We're not here to debate. We're trying to have fruitful discussions here. We want to really engage with our community. But we do want to hear from you. So if you folks have questions and you want to ask those questions, I encourage you, please ask those questions, because curiosity is different from debating, right? So we're all here from many different backgrounds and faiths and cultures, but it's a beautiful thing to be together here today to kind of learn about one another, right? So again, thank you all very much. So when we do that session, we will then stop around 1 o'clock for our prayer. I would love for you folks to observe one of our 5 daily prayers. We're going to have that as well. Following that, some recitation of the Quran in the original Arabic language with translation. And then following that will be our next guest. That's lunch. Right, yeah, that's probably the best guess, right? But we would be honored, and our team right now is getting all the good stuff ready for us, and we have some very delicious Persian food in store for everyone. So again, thank you all very much for accepting our invitation. I'll be checking in here and there, but that's enough for me today. I want to introduce our tour guide for today. It's none other than one of our outreach coordinators here at IIOC, Islamic Institute of Orange County. She's also been part of the community. She's part of our public relations team as well. And I would like for her to maybe spend a minute or two on herself in terms of her connection to this mosque as well, because you will find with every volunteer here who has these purple IIOC vests, everyone has a story behind it from different communities, and that's amazing. So if you can all help me welcome Nicole Bouvet. Nicole?
Good morning and welcome. It's on. Can you hear me? Okay, awesome. Good morning, peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum. That's the greeting of Muslims. We're so happy you chose to visit us today. Sounds like we have a technical difficulty.
It's not an official event if you don't have mic issues. This is what a nonprofit is all about here, you know?
All right, how's that? Much more clear, right? All right, so great to see so many faces here today. Post-COVID, it's been a while since we've all gathered like this. I haven't given this tour for a while, so please forgive me for any mistakes today. But we're so happy to have you guys here in-house, in person, and those who are visiting online, thank you for joining us. So we're going to have a short tour today, just as quick as we can to get you moving around and just see an overview of the mosque. So we'll start with a little presentation here after I give you a brief overview of what I do. My name is Nicole Beauvais, and I've been involved in this mosque for more than 10 years. I have been doing outreach and public relations here for the past 10 years or more. So, of course, that was prior to COVID, and things have changed in our world, right? But we're happy to welcome you back again. I'm getting back into this. I have a full-time job now, so I'm not doing this all the time. But I have a family of 3 children, and I'm a single mom, and I work in building safety for a local jurisdiction. So this is my side gig, as you would say. So I'm a convert to Islam. I've been a Muslim for 27 years and counting. And I have studied Islam extensively. And actually, I lived in the Middle East, in Egypt, before I was Muslim. And that's how I kind of got my feet wet and learned a lot about Islam. I got a master's degree in Middle East studies before I was Muslim. So it appealed to me, and I became Muslim after that. Later, I got married and had a family. So I've been in this community for a long time now, and I'm very happy to share it with you because I was once someone who was really interested in Islam, and it spoke to me, and I want to be everybody's neighbor, and we want to share our way of life because we're Americans too, like everyone else. And so we're here to give you just a brief overview of what we do in this building. So welcome. So you're sitting right now in the multi-purpose room. This is our kind of room for everything. We use it for food, we use it for meetings, we use it for the school. We have a full-time Islamic school, which we'll talk about. We have weddings here, we have all kinds of parties, we have events and lectures. So yeah, we haven't done this since 2019, so we're using it again for this purpose as well. So Muslims are part of this community. We've been quite involved, especially during COVID. We have been having blood drives, town hall meetings. We have a Girl Scout troop here. We have events with, we have a voting center here. We'll probably be doing that again in November. We have had meetings for the council members who are running for office for the city of Anaheim here. We do interfaith meetings and groups and tours. And like I mentioned, we do have weddings, condolences for funerals. So we use this room for pretty much everything. Here's some pictures of things that happen in this room. Next door, maybe you saw that this building is kind of cut in half. Part of it is the community center and the mosque. The other part is the school. So we have a full-time school, pre-K through 8th grade. About 200 students are attending. It's a regular school, accredited, but they also have Islamic education. We also have an Islamic school for the weekends for kids who maybe go to public school and their families would like them to learn a little bit more about their religion on the weekend. So they have classes in Quran, history of Islam, learning the Arabic language, and that happens on the weekend. You may see today there are some students in the building. So here's some pictures about activities that the school's been doing. We also have a Quran Institute for people who would like to learn more about their religion. And there are a lot of people like me who are coming new to Islam and they don't speak Arabic and they didn't grow up learning about Quran and Islam in Arabic. So we're able to learn Arabic as well. And so we have classes for that for adults. So a lot of people who are converts, and most of the world are not Arab speakers. So 10 to 15 million people have memorized the Quran in Arabic, even though they don't speak Arabic as their first language. So it's very important to us that most Muslims learn Arabic. And so as you can see, there's some people here writing your name. If you didn't do it already in Arabic, it's a beautiful script. If you'd like to try that, you could do that later. So we have the Quran Institute, and students and adults are all learning Arabic on the weekdays and weekends. So we're going to be transitioning now from this room to the lobby. So if you haven't already put your booties on, this is a good time to do it. If any women are willing to cover their hair, we're going to be moving into our prayer hall, which is the place where we worship. So we would kindly ask you if you could cover your hair, that would be great. But we're going to walk into the lobby. If you can spread out in the lobby, we'll talk a little bit about that function, and then we're going to move on. So you can just slowly, everybody make their move into the lobby. Thank you.
You can take this one.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, I'm going to stand over here by the door. So if you could slide down towards the front door more, thank you. Okay, let's get started. I'm over here by the door. Okay. All right. Welcome to the lobby. This is traditionally the entrance and where everyone comes into the mosque. And you can see that on that side we have the school and the kitchen, and this side is the mosque. So that's kind of this is the central point and where everybody comes into the building. All right. If you see the roll down door over here, this is the kitchen. So people like to say the only dangerous thing about coming to the mosque is eating the spicy food that we produce here. So luckily today you're not going to have spicy food. We're having Persian food today. But this is a full service kitchen, and we can produce food for the mosque community. On Fridays, we have a very diverse crowd, and so we have all kinds of food to eat. We have American food, Mexican food, Chinese food, Indian and Pakistani food, as well as Arabic food, because our community is not made up of one type of people. Muslims are a very diverse group, so we have food for everybody. So on Fridays, the kitchen is most active, but we do use it during Ramadan, the month of fasting. We have a dinner on the weekend, and we'll produce food here. We also do charity work where we may produce bag lunches, and we take them to the homeless or different things like that. So it's a full style kitchen, and everybody volunteers and helps out. If you want to put your focus on there's a picture over here on the wall next to the kitchen, and this is the Holy Kaaba in Mecca. So an example of the 5 pillars of Islam, one of them is the pilgrimage of Hajj. So once a year, the Hajj is held in Mecca, and 2 to 4 million people may attend. Test, test. Is everybody settled and comfortable? You're welcome to also sit on the floor like Muslims do if you want to, but it'll be a while you'll be sitting, so you're good if you're in a chair. All right, we'll wait for the technological part to start. Please welcome to the prayer hall. This is the main purpose of our building, really. This is where Muslims come to pray, and we're open to pray 5 times a day. So in certain countries, prayer halls may close and lock between the times, and because we have a full-time school here, depending on the time of the year, because we follow the movements of the sun, so the prayer times are before the sun comes up and go throughout the day until the sun goes down. So we have them spread out during the whole day. So there's a lot of activity going on here at different times of the day. But on the weekdays, of course, we have the school going on, but it's mostly open all times for people to come and pray. So does anybody have a quick answer if, what is different about this room than other places of worship? Yes? It's pretty open, right? Yeah, these are folding chairs that you're sitting on. They're not normally in this room at all. So when you come to this space, we use the carpet as a place to sit. So also, does anybody notice what's different about the carpet? Yes, in the back. I can't hear you. It has rectangles, you're right. So each of these rectangles could be for a person, although it doesn't have to be that way. People tend to stand even between them, but they stand right next to each other, but it gives them guidance on the direction. If you look over here on the wall, you'll see that this is the direction. We've even cut the wall in a certain way to show this direction. Does anybody remember why we're pointing in a certain direction? Yes, sir. That's right. So if you think about the globe in your mind, California, Los Angeles is situated in the south of North America somewhat, and Mecca is all the way on the other side of the earth. So we're going a little bit northwest. That doesn't maybe make sense to you if you think about Mecca where it's at, but actually we're going over the globe, just like you would fly. That's the shortest distance, right? So we're flying or pointing ourselves towards Mecca from this direction. It's a little bit northwest, and it's not perfect. Nothing's perfect, but our intention is what matters. Everything in Islam is about intention and believing that you're doing what you're doing for the best reason possible to please God. So we are all in this room lined up, and you'll see it at 1 o'clock, 1:15. We're going to pray here. So someone will lead the prayer there, and so 5 times a day we'll have that. People don't have to pray here at the mosque. You can pray at home, you can pray in a park, you can pray at work, you can pray anywhere. We believe that the whole world is a place of prayer. This is convenient for people to join together because we get more reward when we pray in a group. And just like going to church on Sunday or any other service, it feels good to be in a group, right? When you're around people that are doing the same thing that you are. So it's very beneficial for Muslims to have a place to gather and to pray together. Yeah, we don't wear our shoes in here, of course, because we want the place to be clean. We put our face on the floor every time that we pray, so we try to keep the carpet as clean as possible, right? So everybody tries to wear their best socks when they come to the mosque, all right? This is the space for that. So there are Muslim women who don't wear a scarf all the time out in public, but when they come to the mosque, out of respect, they do wear a scarf for prayer and to be here in the prayer hall. So it may be that you don't recognize some Muslims that you may work with or live near because they may not wear a scarf all the time, but they still consider themselves Muslim and they will pray as well, most of them. So on Friday, we have our gathering and the community prayer. And this place is packed. We have maybe 500 to 700 people come, all right? And men have to come in person on Fridays to pray. Women are not obligatory to come. Women do come. But we have the space, we need the space for men because for them it's obligatory. And it ends up that we use this room and the room that we were in sometimes because we need the overflow. And during COVID, we had tents in the back here in the parking lot that we used for that purpose because we weren't allowed to use the room. So we have people come here, and it's kind of lunchtime, so it's convenient for people who work. And we're not doing it out of convenience. It happens to be the prayer time in the middle of the day. So between 12:40 and 1:40, there will be a service here, and we keep it relatively short because people are taking their lunch break and going back to work. And that's why we provide food as well, because people may pick up some food on the way out the door and head back to work. So it's, in this country, it's a weekday, it's a work day on Friday. In other countries that are Muslim majority, it's a day off. So it's part of the weekend. And so we have to work around that in America, but we all make it work. And it is, if you're ever free on a Friday and you would like to visit, you can contact Jamal and you're welcome to watch and come and sit. We're happy to have guests. And there's an area up above there that's overflow as well. And a lot of times the children from the school pray up there and the younger children. Here's some pictures of activities that we've held in this hall in the past and what it kind of looks like when people are here praying. But yes, we pray in the parking lot as well during COVID. So during the pandemic, when we were allowed to, we put up the tents in the back, and every Friday we'd roll out some carpets and get it ready. So it was, something we all had to learn to make do with, and people were able to wear masks while they prayed, and we had some special paper to put down over the floor in case you felt like there might be germs on the carpet from the past, possibly. We also were doing some outreach things during that time for people in the neighborhood. We had food drives and diaper drives, and those continue till now. Every Saturday, we have a drive-through out back here, and we give away diapers and formula and things for people in need. So if you live in this area and you need anything, you could look on our website and see what kind of things we're offering and become involved in that as well. So here's some pictures of the activities. I used to bring my children and we would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the homeless, and we would pack these like assembly line kind of thing, and we would pack things up and give them out. So it wasn't just during the pandemic that we work with the community and are involved. We all live here and work here, and we're a part of this community, and whatever kind of calamities befall California, we're here with you doing the same thing. So this is just a way that we have communicated with the public in the past and will continue to do so. So that's pretty much what's been planned. I used to give these kind of talks a lot post or prior to COVID, and there are a lot of things that people find are different, and a lot of people are actually frightened maybe to come here and learn. So you're all very brave for coming out and trying to learn a little bit about your neighbors who have a different faith from yourselves. We are going to have someone speak about the common parts of Islam, but if you have any questions about this building and what goes on here, I'd be happy to take those kind of questions, or I can come up with more things to talk about. Is anybody curious about any of the ways that we use this building? All right, no problem. Oh, here. Oh, okay. During the khutbah or the Friday prayer, when the imam or the leader of the prayer comes, part of the prayer is on Friday consists of the actual prayer, physical prayer with bowing that you're used to seeing on television, maybe. Part of it is a lecture. And so we usually have a microphone here, and the imam will speak from this part. He's elevated here so that everyone can see him. And there's a part where they have a kind of reflection time, and he will sit down during that point and just let everybody kind of reflect and make some personal prayers at that time. It's a little break during it. So that's why there's a chair here. But usually we only use this part for Friday prayer. But every day, the leader of the prayer, which you will see in a while, will be giving the prayer from this position. So does that answer your question? Yeah. I saw another hand. Yes, ma'am. That's a great question. If you couldn't hear her, she's asking about the prayers and whether they're done in English or another language, and if they're memorized or not. There are two kinds of prayers in Islam. There are the 5 daily prayers that we give every day that are memorized and have a kind of program to them, as you will. And then there are something we call supplications, which are just those off the cuff kind of prayers that you make when you slam on the brakes in the car or when you have a test coming up, where you ask God, please, give me guidance, give me protection, those kind of prayers. So we can do supplications any time of the day, privately, out loud, quietly. But the prayers, physical prayers that we give 5 times a day are different, and we give those in person. The words in the prayer are actually in Arabic. And so every Muslim will learn to give it in Arabic. Even if you didn't speak Arabic originally, you will learn to memorize the words in Arabic. But you're very encouraged to know the meanings in whatever language you came from. If you spoke Spanish originally, they would be taught to you in translation in Spanish, English, whatever language, so that you should know what you're saying. You should understand why you're talking to God in this way. So, great question. So we know what we're saying, but we're saying it in Arabic, and everybody's saying the same thing at the same time. So it has like a schedule to it, and we follow the program, basically. Yeah, exactly. Any other question? Very good. All right. Well, we're getting ready for our second speaker. Jamal is going to introduce him right now.
Give it up for Nicole Beauvais. All right. Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Nicole's been just part of the family here, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. We're very blessed. We have Islamic Relief USA in the house. They're doing some wonderful work, and they're actually sponsoring our program here today. So I wanted to bring up Amar, who's one of the coordinators, to speak a little bit more about Islamic Relief USA. Amar? He might have better jokes than I will. You can put it on.
I hold it like this. Assalamu alaikum. All right. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. And then Assalamu alaikum again. That was a lot of Arabic really fast. But I was kind of illustrating Sister Nicole's point about the supplications. The first one was for me. It's actually a supplication made by a prophet that people from the Christian tradition should be familiar with. And since my background is teaching, I'm gonna look for hands. So, can you guys think of a prophet familiar to the Christian tradition that maybe made this supplication that I just made? It was رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. It's asking God to ease like the constriction of his chest and allow him to be able to speak confidently. So can you think of a prophet from the Christian tradition? It's too close. A prophet from the Christian tradition who needed to speak confidently. This is a pop quiz for people. I want to see hands. Come on. Like I said, I'm a teacher. If I don't see hands, I'm just going to start saying, sister in the yellow scarf. Let's go. Hands. Nobody. You tried Moses. Yes, he had to speak to a very important person. He was very nervous, and you got it right on the first try. Can we get a round of applause for the sister here with the great answer? Beautiful. Yes, the second half of the Arabic that I was saying was Salaam alaikum, which is peace be upon you guys. So it's a supplication for everybody here. I keep bringing it too close, but thank you, brother Jamel's got me back there. Jazakallah khairan for the great joke. I've been asked to speak to you guys for the next hour about what we do. No? There we go. I stole that from him too, by the way. That was his joke originally. Okay, no. Islamic Relief. So the company it's a relief agency. If you're familiar with the American Red Cross, like you see them everywhere. They've got like the Red Cross and they go around and they help people. We're the same. I don't know if you can guess our color from what I'm wearing, but it's blue. We're like the American Red Cross, but blue. I was actually at, again, speaking to what Sister Nicole was saying, I was at an event before I was here in Santa Ana, Tustin area, where people come through and they drive over to the masjid, and then we're passing out school kits right now because back to school is happening, hygiene kits, they have hand sanitizer, things that people might need, groceries like fresh produce and things like that, cleaning supplies, and other institutions around like participate and help get this stuff going. Because again, the point is, I don't know if you see it, the tagline is on my little banner inside, like working together to make a better world. That's the point. So that's what Islamic Relief does. I do have another quiz for you guys. So Islamic Relief is an organization that was started over 30 years ago. We're in 40 countries now. But where it started and how it started is a bit of a geography quiz. And again, teaching background. So geography quiz, 1 minute quiz. The doctor who started Islamic Relief is from a country in North Africa, and it's the same country I was born. So I'm gonna take guesses for what country I look like I'm from, and or North African countries. Let's go. Again, I wanna see hands, but if I don't, brother right there, give me a country you think is in North Africa. Yes, you, any country. You got it right on the first try. You guys are a talented group. Egypt, yes, it was a doctor from Egypt, and he was doing his field work, but he was in a different country that borders Egypt. So can I get a country that borders Egypt? Let me see hands. Brother, you wanted to guess earlier. Do you have a guess? Country that borders Egypt. There's only 3 of them. You want to go? Go for it. That's one of them, but that's not it. Different country, other direction. One more time, I can't hear you. Algeria, Morocco, you went all the way to the coast. Sudan was the country. He was in Sudan, and there was refugees who came from another country bordering that area, Ethiopia. And those refugees were actually Orthodox Christian refugees who were escaping violence in Tigray. They ended up in Sudan, and he sees them. He tries to, he's like, this is something that, this is a need, and we need to fill it. So the Islamic Relief is not because that's who we're helping. We help people because we're Muslim, not because they're Muslim. It's the part of the religion is to help people. Anyway, that's the little spiel. You guys did a pretty good job. 2 out of 3 of the answers correct. And then I want to give it back to the wonderful brother Jamal. Hopefully I took too much time so he doesn't have time for another joke. I'm just kidding. But Jazakallah khairan all. Thank you so much.
No more jokes, promise, no more jokes. Amar, thank you so much. I appreciate Islamic Relief USA in the house. They're doing wonderful work. And I just wanted to make sure that we can explain to our community the different types of services and programs that we have. It's not just we live in a bubble, right? We don't just live here at the mosque and that's it. No, we're part and parcel of the larger community, right? Whether it's food drives, diaper drive, relief work, you name it. This mosque is very active in those places, right? So just wanted to kind of inform everybody about that. Next up is going to be our Islam 101 presentation. As this is where, and I want to thank you guys because we typically like to do surveys to hear from the community what's working and what's not working, how we can change things. And based on some of the surveys we received from you folks back in 2019, for those of you that were here, they suggested that we would like more of the Islam 101 presentation as opposed to an open QA. So we're listening. And so we're going to incorporate that today. So I just wanted to first say thank you so much. So having said that, I want to ask Sheikh Mustafa Omar. Sheikh Mustafa is the religious director of Islamic Center of Irvine. Some of you probably are familiar. He used to be the imam here at IIOC for about 10 years. He's on to Irvine right now, so promise no Irvine jokes today. But he's joining us here today. He's the author of many books. If you just Google him, you find a number of books that he's done. He was the director and founder of California Islamic University, also known as CIU. He was the director of education and outreach, and the list goes on and on. I won't bore you with that. Again, for me, it's very fascinating, interesting. But I wanted to just make sure that we have Sheikh Mustafa here with us today. So without further ado, Sheikh Mustafa Omar, thank you so much.
I think the list is boring too. Jamal may be fascinated with it, but now, alhamdulillah. All right, assalamu alaikum. I greet you with the greeting of peace. Peace and blessings be upon all of you. I begin in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Let me just turn the screen over here. Okay, so my job is to basically give you an overview of what the religion of Islam is about. So let me get started. So the religion of Islam has a name. It's called Islam. The word Islam is actually an Arabic word, and it has a meaning. The meaning of the word itself is to surrender. That's what the Arabic word itself means. And when you say surrender, surrender to whom? Or if you say submit, submit to whom? So it's implied in the meaning that Islam refers to surrendering yourself to God, God being the creator of everything. So that's what the word itself means. And then there's another word, and that is Muslim. A Muslim is a person who practices the religion of Islam. And a Muslim is a person who surrenders themselves to whom? To God. Okay? Now, what you find is that there's 3 letters in common between these 2 words. Can anyone tell me what are the letters that are in common between the word Islam and the word Muslim? Gotta? Is there an I? No? Oh, there's an I too. Yes, there's 4 actually. Yes. So you got an I. Ignore that one. What else? You got an S. You got an L. And you got an A. You're trying to make sure everyone's awake after all those jokes. You know, it's an M. So you got S, L, and M. And what happens is in the Arabic language, like Hebrew and like Aramaic, which was the language that Prophet Jesus spoke, what happens is that if there's 3 root letters in common between words, they have a similar meaning. So Islam and Muslim, they both have to do with surrendering. The religion is called Islam, which means surrendering yourself to God. The person who follows that is called a Muslim, the one who surrenders themselves to God. If you look at other religions, Christianity, right? The wording itself has the word Christ in there. So it's referring to being a follower of Jesus Christ, or it's being someone who is believing in Jesus Christ. If you look at Judaism, it also has an origin, a meaning. Does anyone know where the word Judaism comes from? Yes. Judah, correct. And what is Judah? You know Judah? Yes. One of the older Jewish? What's the word you said? Cities? Cities, yes. Okay. Yes, it's one of the older Jewish cities, Judea, right? And then it became a tribe. Okay, so exactly. It was a tribe of Judea, which was named after in this region became named after that place. What? Oh, I just gave you the answer. What about, hopefully you didn't see it. What about Hinduism? Where does the word come from? Does anyone know? It means you didn't see it. Yes. Say it again. The Indus Valley. Yes, the Indus Valley or the Indus River. Correct. So the word Hindu, take out the H, you get Hindu. So literally Hinduism means the religion of the people of India, because it's connected to a specific area. Buddhism, from the Buddha. What you find is Islam is unique in this sense. It's not connected, the word itself is not connected to a person. It's not connected to a location like many other religions are, but it's connected to a concept. And that concept is surrender yourself to God. Okay? Any questions on this slide? I'll go slide by slide. Any questions related to this? And then I'll take questions at the end about anything else, like, why is Jamal's beard so long, right? All those questions, they're going to come at the end. Anything related to this slide, this is the time to ask those questions. And questions are only from our guests. not from our Muslim community members who are helping and volunteering and all that stuff. I've done this for 20 years and I've learned my lesson to only allow questions from guests. Guests have any questions on this slide? Okay, moving on to the next slide. Okay, so demographics. This is not the presentation that I sent you, but that's okay. All right, so let's move to some demographics. All right, so is this the updated one I sent you today? It's all right, we're good. I'll make do. Demographics. What is the approximate world population today? Does anybody know? Close. Probably higher than 7 billion, but you're about 8 billion, right? If you look at how many approximate Muslims are there in the world, can anybody tell me? Approximate number of Muslims in the world. Just, you have to be within the range of 1 billion. It's a pretty, I'm a very lenient grader. Give me a range of 1 billion. Say it again. 1,267,243. That was a fantastic. You are absolutely right. You are within the range of 1 billion. So it's about 2 billion. That's a great number. You just came up with that, huh? So that's good. It was good though. So he said 1.2. So it's actually about 2 billion, but he passed the test because he's within the range. So about 2 billion people are Muslim, which we're talking about 1/4 of the world's population today are Muslim. Now you may not experience that in America because it's not like that in America. It's 1% of the population in the United States. But if you were to zoom out and say, well, how many people follow this religion of Islam? How many of these people are surrendering themselves to God, or at least trying to? This 1/4 of the world's population. All right. According to the Pew Research Center, the 2050 projection is that the Muslims are going to be 30% of the world's population. So it's growing. Now, there's this conception that a lot of Muslims, or most Muslims, are Middle Eastern, and they're Arabs, and they speak Arabic. All right? What percentage of all the Muslims in the world do you think are Arab or Middle Eastern? Oh, yes. You said 47? 47? 47. That's a great guess. So you're saying that they're not the majority. Right? You're actually saying that they're slightly below being the majority. Okay, any other guesses? So a lot of people would think it's like 80% or 70%. The fact that you put it under 50% is fantastic. It's actually 20%. What's interesting about that is a lot of people, they associate the Arabic language with Muslims. But the reality is 80% of Muslims, they don't speak Arabic. They can read the Quran in Arabic, but they don't speak the Arabic language. They're not Arabs. So that's interesting because a lot of people have conceptions or ideas about Islam, and they kind of need to be reshaped to really get a proper understanding of what's going on. Which country has the largest Muslim population in the world? Anybody? Only our guests. Are you one of our guests? Okay, yes. Indonesia, absolutely, you got it. Indonesia is number 1. A lot of people don't even know where Indonesia is, right, in the world, but you actually knew it had the largest Muslim population. Does anyone know where Indonesia on this map is? Just tell me, north, south, east, or west? Far East Asia? South? East Asia. You got it. That's right. Okay, very good. All right. How many Muslims in the United States? I already told you 1% of the population. It's about somewhere range between 3 to 10 million people. So diverse counting. It's very hard to count the number of people, but it's definitely the 2nd or 3rd largest religion in the United States. And we'll skip that question. So here's a Pew Research survey from 2017 talking about Muslims. It says that 15 to 30% of the African slaves that came to this country as, slaves to be, working in the fields, they were Muslim. Muslims have been in the American Revolution. They were fighting. There were Muslims who were in the War of 1812. So Muslims have been in America for a long time. And between 1880 to 1914, there was a wave of immigration where many Muslim workers came to the United States and they settled over here. So they've been here for a very long time. Then between 1914 and 1965, very few Muslims came to the country, but there were Muslims still living here. And what happened was this Immigration Act, along the same time as the Civil Rights Act, opened up the waves for many, many people, many more people to come to the country. And that's why you'll find many Muslims, if you look at their parents or their grandparents, they came around 1965 or a little bit afterwards. Now, Muslims in America, according to Pew, 3.45 million. According to other surveys, they can reach anywhere up to 10 million. They're from 77 different countries. 26% are Arab, 23% are Black American, 16% are South Asian, and 6% of Muslims in America are Hispanic. Okay, so it's interesting statistics. 81% of them are U.S. citizens. All right, so these are people who've been here for a very long time. Questions on Muslims in America or Muslims in the world? Any questions? Okay, none. 37% born in the United States. That's old. Famous Muslims. Who can name a famous Muslim that anyone knows? Any Muslim that you can think of that's famous? Yes. Sorry? Malcolm X. Excellent. Anyone else? Yes. Muhammad Ali. Very good. Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, the top two. Can anyone get a third one? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, got a basketball player. Okay? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Can anyone get a fourth person? Yeah. Was it? Barely hear you. Khabib, yes, Khabib, the UFC fighter. Absolutely. Very good. I should add him to my list. I forgot that list. But there's a bunch of famous ones, okay? So we got Ibtihaj Muhammad. We got Congressman Keith Ellison. There's Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Hakeem Olajuwon, Abdullah Brothers, Cat Stevens, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So we'll leave that. I don't think there's any questions about the famous people. All right, primary beliefs. Let's talk about what does Islam teach in terms of what to believe. Okay, so the main beliefs, the first and most important main belief is that there's only one God. This is the fundamental, most important thing. Forget everything else that I say. Even if you forget the 100 story stairs joke that Jamal mentioned, right? And if you forget what country the brother from Islamic Relief is from and where the founder originated Islamic Relief from and where was the first country they started, if you forget all of that, the one thing you should remember when you walk out is Islam teaches that there's only one God. And what does that mean? The first thing it means, the word is Allah. God in Arabic is Allah. So this idea of believing in one God, we say Allah, you can use the word Dios, you can say the word in any other language. We're referring to the one who created everything. We believe that there's only one, that God is the creator, God is all-powerful, He's all-knowing, and nobody else is all-powerful, nobody else is the creator, nobody else is all-knowing. And the most important thing, when you say there's one God, it means that God has no partners and no equals at all. So you cannot compare Him with anything else, and you only worship God. Do not worship any other person, any statue, any picture, anybody else. This is like the most important thing in Islam. And because of that, because it's so strict when it comes to these things, you find that in Islam, God cannot be represented in images. So if you look around, you're not going to see any pictures. You don't see pictures of prophets. You don't see any, you'll never see a Sistine Chapel, mural on the top depicting God in any way, shape, or form. This is considered sacrilegious. It's considered wrong in Islam. Because if you depict God in a picture form, according to Islam, you're limiting God. You don't know what He looks like. You don't even know what the prophets look like, technically, right? So here, instead, Muslims, though, they said people love art. People enjoy art. So should we say, like, how can we possibly represent our love and our care for God without actually drawing a picture of Him? That's where calligraphy comes in. So calligraphy plays a big role. We take the name of God, which is Allah in Arabic, and we draw it in a really cool way. And you see some 3D forms, and you see these other forms and all that. Now, you're going to find, if you walk around different mosques, you're going to find this wording. This says Allah in Arabic, which means God. You're going to find this in different places. So if you walk outside, you look, I don't see anything in here, but if you walk outside, if you look around at the calligraphy that's painted around, you're going to find this a lot. And the reason why you're going to find it a lot is because it's the name of God. And it's depicting, and it's the way of Muslims, represent themselves when it comes to art. Any questions on this? Belief number 1. Okay. Primary belief number 2. Belief in messengers, okay, or prophets. What a prophet or a messenger in Islam is that a messenger was chosen, a person was chosen by God in every community throughout history to convey the message of what God wanted to teach people. Why do we exist? What's our purpose? Why are we here? So these people were chosen because you can't just sit there and meditate and try and figure out everything on your own. God decided rather than communicating with every individual, He's going to choose certain people, and their job is to convey the message to other people. Some of these people are mentioned in the Bible and the Torah, in the Jewish and Christian scriptures. Among them, you have Adam, Prophet Noah, Prophet Abraham, Prophet Moses, Prophet Aaron, David, Solomon, Jesus, and you have Prophet Muhammad. These are some of the prophets that are mentioned in the Quran by name. There's about 25 of them mentioned by name, and many of them are in common with the Jewish and the Christian scriptures. What's the purpose of these people? It's to help people get connected with God, to teach them why they exist, to teach them why they're alive. And I couldn't think of any other picture to fill the rest of the slide except this little Wi-Fi thing. So I threw it in there anyways, and hopefully it conveys the message, okay? So this is belief number 2, belief in the messengers. What was primary belief number 1? One God. Belief number 2, messengers or prophets were sent, okay? Now, Muhammad is mentioned here, and Muhammad is considered to be one of the very important prophets in Islam. He's considered to be the final prophet that was sent out of all the line of prophets that was sent. So let me tell you a little bit about Muhammad. Who is Prophet Muhammad? Well, here's what we know about him. He was born in the year 570 CE, which was in Mecca. And Mecca is in the Middle East, in the country of Arabia, or what's called today Saudi Arabia. He came from a noble family. He had a very good reputation. His people considered him to be very upright and honest. And when he was 40 years old, he received revelation. Okay? He received his first revelation from God, and this revelation continued for a period of 23 years, and it was memorized, and it was compiled, and this became the Quran. Now, if you look at any of these bookshelves over here, there or behind you, or this bookshelf over here, the majority of all those books are copies of the Quran. And the Quran for Muslims is the final revelation that was sent to all people. So there's an Old Testament, there's a New Testament. The Muslims say this is the final testament, the Quran, being revealed to the final prophet. So it's a fairly long book. There's about 600 pages in it. There are 6,236 verses spread over 114 different chapters. Now, one of the things that's unique about the Quran, and Muslims pride themselves in, is the book is very authentic. How is it authenticated? How do we know that this is really the same book that was revealed, that's for 1400 years, has not been changed around by anybody? Well, it was memorized. It's been memorized by millions of people throughout history. So every Muslim you meet, they'll have a little bit of it memorized. There are many kids in the world today, 7 years old. They have the entire book memorized, all 600 pages. Some of them 9 years old, some of them 10 years old, right? So a lot of people have memorized the book. Somebody tried to change it, they wouldn't be able to because there's so many people who memorized it. So that's one of the ways that it was preserved and it was authentic. Now, the Quran is a book which is recited. So you actually recite the verses in a melodic voice. Some people have really good recitation. Some people like me have suboptimal, let's call it suboptimal recitation. But you're still supposed to try your best to recite it as much as you can. So I get asked, they're like, what does the Quran actually sound like? So I'll just give you, I'll give you 2 verses. Okay, I'll give you 3 verses of what it sounds like, so you can just get a feel for it. Okay, So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. That's what it sounds like. So this is the first chapter of the Quran, first 3 verses. What is it saying? It's saying, praise be to God, the Lord of the worlds, the compassionate, the merciful. Malik Yawmuddin, master of the day of judgment. Okay, so these are the meaning of the 3 verses here. So that's what the Quran sounds like. And whenever people are praying, whenever a Muslim is praying, they're supposed to recite the Quran out loud during the evening prayers, during the night prayers. And sometimes we recite it silently during the day prayers. Okay, and we'll talk more about prayer in a moment. This is what the Quran looks like if you open it. It's like an Arabic text in there. And this is what the Quran used to look like almost 1400 years ago in the old script. So the script has evolved, a few more signs on there and stuff like that. But these are like, this is an old manuscript of one of the original copies of the Quran. This is kind of what it looks like in Arabic. Okay. So questions on that or on messengers? Questions? Anyone want to try reciting some Quran? Didn't think so. Okay. All right. Anyone is in choir or does singing? Anyone? Oh, you're in choir? Okay, very nice. So yeah, I'd like to one day, if you ever learn Arabic, I'd like to see how it sounds. All right. Third principle is resurrection. The idea that there's another life after we die, and we're going to be held accountable for what we did. So before we start, what was principle number 1? Belief number 1? One God. What was belief number 2? Messengers. Number 3 is that there's resurrection, that this life is a test. So Islam teaches us that the purpose of this life, why we've been created, is that we're being tested to see what we're going to do. Are we going to believe in the right things? Are we going to do the right things? And the criteria of that test is set by God. It's not about our own standards, right? So some people say, well, this person, I'm a good person, I'm not a good person. Who determines that? God is going to judge that according to his own standards. And based upon what you do in this life, there's going to be paradise or there's going to be hellfire. All right, so that's the basic principle in Islam, that life is a test. Not always like a Scantron, but basically these old tests where you have like A, B, C, D, E, you have like different options. So somebody comes to you and they're poor and they're legitimately in need. You have a few options. Option number 1, you have extra money, give them something. If you know that they're genuine, give them something and you help the people who are poor. That's the right answer, A. B would be like, you give them a little bit. C would be like, can't help you, but I'll give you a smile. D would be like, not giving you anything. And E would be like, you push them down and you run away, right? Just good answers, bad answers. Good deeds, bad deeds. Okay? So that's pretty much the concept of beliefs in Islam. Any questions about any of those 3? Good so far? Okay. So now we talk about beliefs. We're going to move on to actions. What are some of the main things that Islam teaches us to do in life? In addition to, good deeds and telling the truth and all of that stuff, what about other aspects which are unique to Islam in particular? Let's look at them. The first one is daily prayers. So a Muslim is supposed to pray 5 times a day, every single day. So if you look at that clock over there, you can see this little time thing over there with the lights, the black thing. Those are the prayer times that are specified, okay? So those tell you what the prayer times inside this mosque is going to be. But you don't have to pray in a mosque per se. You can actually be praying outside in the parking lot, not in the middle of the street. You could be praying in a park. You could be praying in a desert like this guy's praying over here. So you can pray anywhere, but you have 5 prayers to perform. And a Muslim gets about 2 to 5 hour gap for each prayer. Each prayer takes about 5 minutes. But you have about 2, 3, 4 hours to find 5 minutes within that time, whenever you want, to be able to perform your prayer. Every single day, a Muslim has to pray. So we woke up in the morning, this morning very, very early, and in this mosque there was actually a breakfast served after the prayer. We woke up very early and we came to the mosque, or some people stayed at home and they prayed early in the morning before sunrise. Then there's another prayer that happens after noon, which is going to be at 1:15 today. And then late afternoon, there's another one. After sunset, there's a fourth one. And at nighttime, there's a fifth one. So there's 5 prayers every single day. The direction of prayer is going to be in this direction right here. So you can see there's a setup right there. All of these carpet things are kind of facing in this direction. Does anyone know why we face in this direction in particular? Anyone? Yes. Facing towards Mecca, exactly. We're facing towards Mecca. And Mecca in Southern California is in which direction? Who knows that? North, south, east, or west? Or southeast, northwest, north, south, all that. There's no north, south. All right. That's jujitsu. It's called north, south. I don't know if you guys do martial arts. But anyways, does anyone know what direction it is? I don't expect you to know. It's north, northeast. Why? Because if you look at a flat map, you're like, wait a minute, it should be like southeast. But the shortest distance to Mecca is actually over the top. If you fly in an airplane in a straight line over the top, it's north, northeast, because on the other side of the earth. So wherever Muslims are, we're going to pop out the compass or the app, which tells us where is north, northeast. If you're in a park, we'll pull out our app and we'll be like, try and figure out from the sun or from the stars or whatever it is. No one does that anymore. But you figure out where's north, northeast, and you face in that direction, and that's where you pray. Okay. There are the timings of prayer I just mentioned to you. There's early morning, afternoon, late afternoon, after sunset, and evening, like night prayer. The washing of the prayer. We're supposed to wash our bodies, wash ourselves before we perform the prayer. Did Sister Nicole, did you already explain this? No? Oh, you didn't? Okay. So this is where my kids are supposed to demonstrate, but okay, they're in the back there. So when we wash ourselves for prayer, what we do is we wash our hands 3 times. And then we rinse our mouth 3 times. And then we rinse our nose 3 times. And then we wash our face 3 times. We wash the right arm 3 times, left arm 3 times. We wipe over our head, wash into our ears. We wash our right foot 3 times, and left foot 3 times. We're ready for prayer. So we wash up before we pray, because when we're praying to God. And it's like when you go in front of someone who's important, you deem them to be someone, significant, you present yourself in the best of way. You wear nice clothing, you take a shower, whatever it is. So this is the way you present yourself in front of God. When it comes to the motions of the prayer, you can see this guy here, right there. He starts out standing. So when we start with prayer, we're going to start out standing like this. We're going to raise our hands and we're going to say, God is the greatest in Arabic. And then what's going to happen is there's going to be a bowing position. You can see him doing it over here. And then there's going to be a prostration position where you put your face all the way on the floor, showing utmost humility in front of God. So the purpose behind this, why are there so many prayers? 5 times every single day. In one sense, it's a lot, and in one sense, it's not much. So it's 5 minutes every day, and it's 5 prayers. It's 25 minutes. That's like one TV show, right? It's really not that long, but why do it every single day? Why do it throughout the day all the time? Because the point is to constantly remember God. When we get busy with work, when we get busy with something, we need to stop and we need to take a break and say, you know what? This is all the stuff of this world. We need to focus on what was our purpose in life. Why have we been created? We've been created to worship God, to do the right deeds, to do the right thing. So it's a way to constantly reconnect with God every single day throughout our day. There's also a Friday prayer. And a Friday prayer is one exception where instead of the normal prayer, all the Muslims are going to gather together on Friday in a mosque. And it becomes like the entire community is going to be praying together. So you can pray in a mosque any day, but on Friday, all the Muslims are supposed to really come together, right? That's like the special day, like Christians have Sunday, Jews have Saturday. Friday is the day for Muslims. So they're going to gather together. There's going to be a sermon that's given, 2 sermons, 2 short lectures, and then a prayer that's going to be followed. Where do these prayers happen? They happen inside of a mosque. So we're inside of a mosque right now. There are other mosques that look just as nice. This is one of the, I just found a bunch of pictures of cool mosques, right? So here's one, nice looking mosque. Where is this? In Brunei? This is in Brunei. Cool looking mosque. Here's another giant mosque. This is in Istanbul, in Turkey, one of the very famous mosques. And inside a mosque, you'll find like an old style washing basin. So this is a place where people are washing up for prayer that I was mentioning for you, that this helps them to get ready, or you could just use a bathroom. Then you have, this is my other local mosque that I'm at. Oh, I did send you the updated one. My bad. All right, you're right. So I don't know what happened with the slides here. But here's another one. All right? And so that is prayer in Islam. Any questions about prayer? You can stop looking at Jared. You can look at this. Questions about prayer? Okay. So next one is charity. So Muslims are supposed to give charity, but there's a special type of mandated charity called zakah. Zakah is an Arabic word which means to purify your wealth. And what it means is basically every Muslim who can afford to do so has to give 2.5% of their savings, not income, savings. So all the billionaires, every year, 2.5% of their money, as you can see over here. Does anyone know which cartoon this is from? What's it from? What's it called? DuckTales, exactly. That's Scrooge McDuck. This is DuckTales, and he's swimming in his money bin, and he's a guy who is a miser, doesn't like to give out his money, and yet there's so many poor people in the world. So zakah is basically the people who have savings, and they're storing up their money. You give some of that to the people who are in need, redistribute wealth from the people who have to the have-nots, and you rebalance society. This is an obligation in Islam, 2.5%. So if you have $1 million, quick math question. If you have $1 million, how much zakah do you have to give every single year? 2.5% of 1 million. Does anyone know how to do that? How much? 25,000. Thank you. I've asked many audiences, most people cannot do it. I usually do 10,000 and still people struggle because they just ask Siri or they ask Alexa, or I don't know what the Google Assistant is called, right? Does it have a name? No, it's no name. Just Google. Ask Google. Ask Google. Okay. All right. So 2.5%. Okay, questions on the annual charity. This doesn't go to the mosque, by the way. It cannot go to build a mosque. It needs to go to the people who are in need. It goes to the poor. Okay? All right. And that's what Islamic Relief is here for as well. So they collect zakah and they distribute it. Next one is fasting. So Muslims are supposed to fast in the month of Ramadan. So Ramadan is the month in which the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad. So we commemorate it and we celebrate it by fasting. Now, if you say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean month of Ramadan? What is the month of Ramadan? Well, Ramadan is a lunar month. So Muslims use a lunar calendar. When we talk about January, February, March, April, May, we're using a solar calendar, the Gregorian calendar. How many days are there in a year? 365. How many days are there in the Islamic lunar year, in the Islamic lunar calendar? Most Muslims don't even know. It's okay. 354, which means that every year Ramadan, if we're mapping it to our calendar, it's going to go back about 11 days. So Ramadan this year is coming up in spring break time, next year, 2023. The following year, it's going to go back 11 days. Next year, it's going to go back about 11 days, So sometimes Ramadan is going to be in summer. After many years, Ramadan is going to be in spring. After many years, Ramadan is going to end up being in winter. So it kind of changes throughout the seasons. Fasting can be longer or shorter, but that's why I put this picture of the moon phases, because it's a lunar calendar. But what is fasting? Fasting basically means that you're not allowed to eat anything or drink anything or have any physical relations with your spouse throughout the whole day, from dawn until sunset. You're not allowed to do that. So what does that do? Well, besides making you hungry and besides making you thirsty, it develops a level of self-control in you. And when you develop self-control, it's supposed to make you a better Muslim. And what does Muslim mean? Does anyone remember? Yeah. To surrender. So it helps you to surrender to God easier because now you have some self-control. So this is really important in Islam because you don't always want to do what God wants you to do. You don't always feel like doing it. So this helps you train yourself to get into the habit of doing that. So there's some rules. Basic rules are no eating, no drinking. That means no water either, no intimacy. Other rule, or the exception to the rule, is if you're sick, you don't have to fast. You make it up later. If you're traveling, you don't have to fast. You make it up later. If you're sick and you're like a diabetic, you're never going to recover, or you don't know if you're going to recover. You say, well, I can't make it up later. What do? You feed a poor person for every single day of fasting that you missed. So there's always exceptions in Islam. You're supposed to stand and pray. What if you have a sprained ankle? You don't skip prayer, but you don't, keep standing and it's really painful. You can sit and pray. So in Islam, anything which is too difficult, it's going to really harm you. There's always some exception to the rule to make your life easier, because the goal is not to make your life difficult. The goal is just so that you can worship God and do the right things. And in Ramadan, there are extra prayers every single night as well. So if you ever wanted to visit the mosque and you wanted it to be full of Muslims, I want to see, like, what do Muslims do inside the mosque? There's a few Muslims here today. What if there's not enough Muslims? You're like, I wish there were more Muslims. Where can I see like a bunch of them? You're going to see them on Friday during the sermon, and you're going to see them on all the nights in the month of Ramadan. That would be the time to visit if you want to see, everyone. But when you want to see them, you're also going to have a parking problem. So just letting you know. So you're like, I want to come. I want to see what the Muslims are doing. And then you show up and you be like, what the heck is this? You got to park all the way down like near Stater Brothers, and you got to walk it because it gets completely full over here. All right. And this is a little picture of a kid who basically has to learn self-control. He has to choose the right option, the sugar or the healthy apple. When you're fasting, though, what option does he get? He gets a thing in the middle. He gets nothing. All right? Harder decision to make, but that's designed to get you some level of self-control. Okay? Questions on fasting? Yes. Good question. What age do children start fasting? They should start a few years before puberty just to get used to it, but they need to be fasting when they hit puberty. Okay? Same with prayer. Other questions? Yes. Great questions. Is there upper limit for fasting, right? When you can stop fasting or something like that, taking medication? It's basically, it falls in the exception category. As soon as you're not able to fast because you're going to really harm your health, it's going to hurt your body, you don't have to fast anymore. So it's anytime you fall into the category of illness or too old. Some people, they keep fasting into their 80s. Some people fast into their 90s. All right? And some people, they stop fasting because of health issues or whatever in their 60s or something like that. So it's on an individual basis, case by case basis. Good question. Any other questions about fasting? Okay. Pilgrimage to Mecca. So the other thing, 10 minutes? Okay. So pilgrimage to Mecca. This building, so I told you before that Muslims face the direction of Mecca, which is northeast, whenever we pray. The reason why we're facing Mecca is not just because the Prophet was born there, but because of this building. This building is called the Kaaba. And the Kaaba, Islam teaches, was built by Prophet Abraham and Prophet Ishmael. And they built this building so that everyone can face it and everyone will be worshiping one God in unity as a community together. So if you look very carefully, if you look at the zoomed in picture here, these are all people facing as a circle around it in the direction of that building. And guess what's inside the building? Does anyone know what's inside the building that makes it so special? Everybody's facing it. Any guesses? Yes, over here, yes. No problem. It's not inside, no. Blackstone's on outside. What's inside it that makes it so special? Anyone? Yes. The what? The tomb of the Prophet? Yeah, that's a common guess. Good guess, but no, it's not the tomb of the Prophet. Some people say the original copy of the Quran. Is that what you were going to say? Okay, it's not the original copy of the Quran, but that would have been a good guess too. What's the other one? And you're going to say the same thing? Something to do with Abraham. Okay, good guess. The answer is absolutely nothing. Why? Because remember the first principle, the first belief in Islam, the most important belief in only God. Do not pray to anyone besides God. If it was a copy of the Quran, people would be like, oh, you're praying to the book. If it was the Prophet's tomb, you'd be like, you're praying to the Prophet. The whole point of making sure that no one has any semblance of worshiping any object or statue or idol or anything like that is just a plain building. Very simple, not decked out. It's just, in fact, it's not even this black. This is just a cover that's on top of it. It's a very, very basic building underneath the cover. So the goal was to emphasize that idea and that point that you only pray to God. This direction is just to unify people. So you have this circle here. If you zoom out, I'll skip that. You zoom out, these are all little people. When we look at them from far away, they're not little people, they're normal people. But if you zoom out and you look from far away, these are all people in the picture all the way in a giant mosque that is built around this building, and they're all facing in that direction. And when any Muslim is facing in this direction, they're part of a giant circle around the entire world in unity with all other people who are worshiping one God facing in this direction. Okay, so that is called the Hajj. And the Hajj is a journey that every Muslim is supposed to undertake once in their lifetime. They're supposed to go and visit here, and they're supposed to pray here. It just brings unity in the Muslim community. Okay, now, a few minutes that I have left, I'm going to mention a few other miscellaneous practices in Islam, and then I'll open it up for questions. Okay, so we'll go through this quickly. There's Eid holidays. There are 2 holidays in Islam every year, and they're called Eid. And one Eid is right after Ramadan, and the other Eid is around the Hajj time. And Muslims will take off, and they meet in the morning, and they do one prayer in the morning, and the rest of the day, they are supposed to party, because it's a festival, right? So what they do in the first Eid, pray, and then party. The second Eid, they pray in the morning, and then they're supposed to enjoy the rest of their day. Okay, so that's one. Number 2, Islam teaches us not to eat pork, because it's mentioned in the Quran. It's also mentioned, in the Old Testament, in the Bible, that it's considered to be a dirty animal. So we do not eat any pork or any pork products whatsoever. So we make sure, even in the ingredients, if there's anything that's connected to pork, we make sure we're not going to eat it. Then there's something called halal meat. Okay, halal actually means permissible or allowed, but when it's referring to meat, there's a certain type of standard. So like there's kosher standards for meat, there's a halal standard for meat. 2 main things need to happen. Number 1, the meat needs to be slaughtered by a Muslim, Jew, or Christian, right? And they should try to say the name of God when they're slaughtering the animal. Number 2, when you cut the animal, the blood is supposed to drain out of the animal so that it doesn't remain in the body, because that's just not good for the health of the animal. So if you take like a chicken and you suffocate the chicken and it dies, and then you chop it into pieces, Muslims are not allowed to eat that meat, right? 3 minutes, got it, good. So there's a cool app called Zabiha. It's spelled differently. It's Zabiha. It tells you every single halal restaurant and market in your entire area, wherever you are. So Muslims have some pretty cool restaurants. You could check out one if you want from the app. Dress code. So there's a dress code for men, and there's a dress code for women. Most people are interested more in the dress code for women, where very similar to nuns or Hindus or Jewish people and other faiths, the women out of modesty are supposed to cover their heads. Some of you are doing, and they cover the rest of their body, but their face is revealed. They can open their hands and all that. So there's a dress code for women because of the modesty that's being shown, in order for this is only for their family members, right? So anyways, that's hijab. I got 2 minutes. So intoxicants. No drugs are allowed in Islam. No consuming of alcohol is allowed in Islam. Not even 1 sip, not even 1 puff, not even 1 injection of heroin. Okay. Interest is not allowed in Islam. So Muslims cannot pay interest. They cannot receive interest. Interest means if you loan somebody $1, they have to pay you $1.01 back. That's interest. Not allowed. So if you ever need a loan, go to your Muslim friend, because they cannot charge you any interest. Okay. Dating and marriage. People ask, well, dating, like premarital relationships, are not allowed in Islam. People are supposed to get married. You do not have relationships outside of marriage. So people always ask, well, how do you get married then? You can have like chaperone dating. You can have online websites where you connect with someone, but you make sure that you're not getting all flirty and getting physical. You get to know the person. There's no arranged marriages in Islam, by the way. That's a Hinduism and other religions, but not in Islam. So there is marriage. Marriage is highly, highly encouraged in Islam, but marriage without dating, but with like premarital interview kind of things. Okay, so these are some of the most common questions that I get, but I'll open it up for a few more questions. Anyone have questions about anything? You know, even if you want to ask about Jamal's beard, I can answer that too, but only if you ask. Okay. Yes, I saw a question over here. Yes. Thoughts on the Bible? Okay, so Islam teaches that Jesus was a prophet, one of the greatest prophets of God, and that he received the gospel, and Moses received the Torah. But we believe that the scriptures have not been preserved in their authentic original way. So there's been some modifications. So we believe that yes, they received a revelation, but what we have with us today is a remnant of much of the original teachings, but some other things got added or modified over time. So we don't read the Bible as scripture, but we will refer to it as a historical reference or a document, because if it aligns with the Quran, it was most probably from the teachings of Jesus. If it contradicts with the Quran, it's probably one of those things that got modified in translation, or somebody added a commentary or something like that. That's pretty much what it says about the Bible. Okay. Other questions? Yes. Okay, so the question is, how did Jesus die if the pamphlet that you got says that Jesus wasn't crucified? So what the Quran says is that Jesus was not killed, but instead he was lifted back up to God, and that he's going to return later. It doesn't give us any other information. So in terms of what happened to him and what are the details, it simply doesn't tell us. So we simply don't know. Yes. Okay, is same-sex marriage allowed in Islam? No, it's not considered to be a valid marriage in Islam. Okay. Yeah. Official position, having more than one wife. Officially, there's a psychological answer, and then there's the Islamic answer. Psychologically or socially, it's probably gonna get you in a lot of trouble with your wife. But is it allowed in Islam? The answer is yes. It's allowed in Islam, especially if there's a need. But what you want to do is you want to consult with your wife to make sure. And the reason why it's allowed, a lot of people have a difficulty with this. If you look at populations, if you find a section where there's men are being killed off in war throughout history, men have been killed off in war. Many women are out there. No one's going to marry them. I mean, even today we have a marriage crisis on our hands. Many young people, they don't want to get married. There are many women who end up getting divorced later on, their 40s and their 50s. People don't want to marry them. It's very difficult for them to get married. So this is something which solves a problem that has existed in a community or may exist in a community for people. But of course, there are guidelines. You have to be fair. You have to be equal to all of them. You have to make sure that all of them are going to be treated equally, etc., etc. And there's a limit. So the limit is 4 as a maximum, which used to be unlimited in the past in other religions. Islam came and limited that to 4. Other questions? Got 1 minute? Okay. Yes. This will be the last question then. Not time? Oh, so the question is, why are the 5 prayers based on the sun and not time? Well, simply because they didn't have watches and clocks back then. So the simplest thing is for people, when they're like, if you walk outside, you're like, hey, when is it time for prayer? You look outside and you'd be like, oh, the sunrise is in. Is it past noon? You look down at your shadow. You can tell what time it is. So it's only just for the convenience of people to figure out what the time was, because they always use the sun. Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. If they ever have any other questions about Islam, you can always email the mosque, and they can forward the emails to me or to somebody else, and we're always here to answer your questions. All right, thank you very much. Peace be with you.
All right, let's give it up for Sheikh Mustafa Umar one more time. I'm back. I'm sorry. I know I'll be out of your way momentarily. Don't worry. Again, thank you all very much. We have a number of people that are joining us a little bit later as well. I know people have services and different commitments, but I do appreciate everybody taking time out and joining us as the group is growing and growing. So thank you very much. So at this time, it's 1:03. So we do have, of course, a program. One of the things we would love for our guests to maybe observe, maybe for the first time, of course, is the prayer. So we talked about the prayer today, the 5 daily prayers. One of those 5 prayers is actually going to be happening at 1:15, the number 2 prayer, if you will, right? That's my signal going off. But before the prayer, there's something called the adhan, or the call to prayer. And there's something called the iqama, which is the commencement of the prayer, right? All these things might be foreign to you if this is your first time. So what we want to do is make sure we define everything. So I'm going to ask Sheikh Mustafa to come back up. That's why I told him to wait. Not only are we going to explain what the call to prayer is, the iqama, the commencement of prayer, we also want to explain what the prayer itself is, the movements and the positions. Because when you do observe the prayer at 1:15, right, you're going to see people standing, bowing, standing, prostration. You're going to say, what is going on here, right? But we would like to explain that process to you before the prayer starts, so you have an idea as well. So Sheikh Mustafa, I'm going to bring you back up here if you don't mind, because I know I wanted just to clarify. And then the second question, so he'll talk about that. And number 2, we do get a question now, and Sheikh Mustafa will be more than happy to answer this, about the separation between men and women, right? Of course, right now it's a mixed crowd because we have guests that are coming from different faiths. But when we pray, it's going to be very obvious that our men are in a specific area, women are in a specific area, and we don't mix, right? And there's going to be obvious reasons, but I'll let Sheikh Mustafa talk about that as well. Sheikh Mustafa.
And who's going to call the adhan? Okay. How many minutes I got? 3 minutes. Okay. Super summary. So what happens is that there's a call to prayer called the adhan before every one of the prayers that we're going to have in the mosque. And what used to happen is that there used to be, you saw like there's this minaret, this giant little thing going up on this building. Have you guys noticed that when you walked in, you can see it from far away? So there used to be where there was a person who would call the prayer. He would actually climb up the stairs inside that thing all the way to the top before we had microphones, and he would make the call to prayer. So everyone around the entire mosque, they can all hear that it's time for prayer and we're going to get started. We don't have anyone doing that today. We're not allowed to do that by the city, nor do we have only Muslims living around here. So what's going to happen is in a few minutes, the person is going to make the call to prayer in Arabic, and they're going to start by saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. And they're going to continue. And basically what they're doing is they're praising God. They're saying, God is the greatest. God is the greatest. There's only one God. We believe that Muhammad is the messenger of God. And there's like a long translation for that. So that's going to be the call to prayer. It's going to be pretty loud. And then what's going to happen after that is some people are going to start doing extra prayers. And a few minutes later, exactly at 1:15, there's going to be a mini call to prayer, which I call the call to commence. Meaning this is the second one. He's going to say almost the same thing that he said the first time, but he's going to do it super fast. And he's not doing it because he's in a rush. It's supposed to be done a little bit faster, where he's going to say, Allahu Akbar, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. This means, hey, we made the call to prayer like 10 minutes ago. You guys should have done the washing. You guys should have been ready. Everyone, we're starting the prayer in like 1 minute, less than a minute. Everyone who's outside, everyone who's doing something else, put your phones in your pocket, get in the front, line up properly, because we're about to start the prayer. So that's the adhan, the call to prayer, the iqama, which is done right before the prayer we're about to start. And at 1:15, we're going to start. So the person who's leading the prayer, who's leading the prayer? We got somebody? Okay, so someone's going to be leading the prayer. He's going to start by facing in this direction. He's going to stand over there. He's going to say, Allahu Akbar. Everyone else is going to be lined up, and they're going to be following the leader. The leader is called the imam. So he's going to be, basically saying, doing the movements. Everyone in a coordinated fashion is going to follow along. Now, the men are going to line up along this area right behind where the imam is going to be. And then the women actually come in the back and they line up over here. Now, the reason for the division, if you were paying attention or if you were here during the presentation for the prayer, there's certain movements like bowing, prostrating. When you go all the way down on the floor, your rear end is sticking out. So for the purpose of modesty, the men and women, they separate during the prayer so that we don't have any, inappropriate, glances or whatever things going on. And then the rest of it is going to be basically praying to God. So I mentioned, we're going to stand, we're going to fold our hands like this, we're going to recite some verses of the Quran. Then we go into bowing, we go into prostration. All of these things are connected to praising God. So the prayer is going to start right when we put our hands up like this and we say Allahu Akbar. We're in prayer. No one's going to talk, no one's going to fidget, no one's going to move around or anything like that. And then when we're done at the end, we'll be in sitting position and we're going to say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, which means peace be with you, and then peace be with you. And that's when the prayer is done. Then you're going to see everyone getting up. Some people are going to start pulling out their phones and checking on their Facebook accounts and all that stuff. Not the best use of your time, but they're going to do it anyways because they're allowed to. And some people are going to get up and they're going to walk away and all that stuff. That's when you know the prayer is done. Good? Jamal? Anything else? Okay, we're good. We're going to do the call to prayer and he's going to help you reorganize and rearrange all of this stuff. It's what he does best.
As you can tell, we don't stay on script here at IIOC. We're figuring things out. I'm just joking. Sheikh Mustafa, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm so sorry. I don't want to rush only because the prayer is at 1:15 and they will fire me if we don't start at 1:15, right? However, in doing so, because the prayer and the congregation is going to line up this way, I would request one thing. If it's not too much of an inconvenience, if we can reposition ourselves by just turning a little bit, facing this way, you can stay the way you are. It's not a problem. I just don't want you to get something in your neck tomorrow and then I'm going to get an email, right? Should you want to reposition yourself so we're looking this way, that'll be excellent. It'll just make it easier. But again, if you don't want to, not a problem. If you're on one of the benches, you can just, of course, turn like that. And you'll be facing this way. And then to do the call to prayer, I'm going to call up our young brother, Muhammad Amin. Muhammad is one of our students at the Quran Institute program. He's also someone who's memorizing the Quran and is almost completed memorizing the entire Quran in the Arabic language. He's going to do the call to prayer called the Adhan. And then, so I'm going to call up Muhammad right now. Muhammad, if you want to lead us in the call to prayer, that'll be great. He'll do the call to prayer and then he'll be starting that. And then again, if you want to record, you want to close your eyes, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable, you're most welcome.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح
الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Thank you so much, Muhammad. Again, Muhammad is one of those that's doing his best, of course, to memorize the entire Quran in Arabic language. Thank you so much. So now some of the community will be performing optional prayers. And then at 1:15, we're going to start the prayer. So it'll just be a few minutes, folks, if it's okay. And then we'll check right back in with you folks again. So if the community, yes, if anybody will line up, that's perfectly fine. So as they're lining up, maybe I can just also just provide some instructions or just information. So these are just optional prayers. Think of it as like extra credit prayers, right? So we're just offering those prayers here, the men here, and of course you see the ladies right behind you here as well, for those reasons that Sheikh Mustafa had mentioned. And one of the things you're going to find in the prayer when we actually pray is we're going to try to get as close as possible, shoulder to shoulder, to build the unity, to build the brotherhood, and of course the sisterhood on the sisterhood side as well. Another thing when we're praying, that which we're reciting in the prayer is a combination of supplicating or praising God, along with certain passages that are actually memorized from the Quran in the Arabic language. So when we're standing, we're actually, many of us are taught from a young age, no matter what the background is in terms of your language, to memorize in the Arabic language, right? The Quran in Arabic, of course. And then we're actually reciting that in the prayers as well. But in the transitions, when you're bowing, and you're standing, and then you're going to prostration, you're praising Almighty God. So you see a combination of both. It's past 1:15, so they're probably going to fire me. Just joking, just joking. Everybody's so serious, it's okay. We'll give it about a minute or two just to make sure everybody get their optional prayers in, and then we'll start with the prayer. And by the way, folks, I'm so sorry, I should have mentioned this earlier. You, of course, have waters in front of you or below you. Should you want to have a water, you're most welcome. A really good reminder, if anybody needs to take a bathroom break as well, you're most welcome. You can use the restroom. We're going to be starting in about 30 seconds. After this is going to be the actual recitation of the Quran. After the prayer is about 5 to maybe 7 minutes. We have the recitation of the Quran in Arabic. We want you to hear it with the translation. And then we're going to move on to our lunch. God willing. I know everybody's waiting for lunch. We're almost there. Almost there. Okay. Muhammad Amin? Iqama? Sheikh Mustafa? So now it's actually we're going to start the prayer. This is what we call the commencement of prayer, the iqama, the mini call to prayer, if you will. He'll do it right now, and then we'll lead the prayer, and the prayer will be about maybe 5 or 7 minutes.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة، حي على الفلاح، قد قامت الصلاة، قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر، الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله.
استووا اعتدلوا. Please make sure your line is straight. Stand shoulder to shoulder. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله
All right. Peace be upon you. Assalamu alaikum to the community. Peace be upon you all. So that was actually one of our 5 daily prayers that we do. Some prayers we do out loud, and some prayers are silent. This was one of the five that are silent of the day. For the community, if you are going to be offering your optional prayers, your sunnah prayers, I would just request you to do it at the back end so that it doesn't block the view of the guests, if that's okay. At this point, we also wanted the community or our guests, of course, to actually hear a recitation of the Quran itself in the Arabic language, right? So helping me do that, just because this is a silent prayer, so of course you weren't able to hear certain passages of the Quran. So I'm going to call up Zian. Zian Ibrahim is actually somebody who's an instructor at a Quran Institute, which is next door. And also, he's actually one of those individuals that I know he probably doesn't want me to mention it, but he's one of those that actually has memorized the entire Quran in the Arabic language. He's a college student. He's pursuing many different fields. So at this time, if I can call up Zian, that'll be great. Zian? Zian is going to be reciting from Surah Maryam, or chapter Maryam translating to Mary, of course, Mary, mother of Jesus. This is going to be from verses 16 to 34. So Mary, chapter 19, verses 16 to 34, just for reference if anybody's interested. And again, for the community, if you're offering any prayers or optional prayers, I would ask you to do it on the far right side or my left side here. Thank you.
Hello, peace be upon all of you. Thank you for all coming today and taking your time out. We all really appreciate it. So I'll be reciting from the chapter about Mary, Jesus' mother, and I'll be translating the verses as well after. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا اتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا قالت إني أعوذ بالرحمن منك إن كنت تقيا قال إنما أنا رسول ربك لأهب لك غلاما زكيا قالت أنا يكون لي غلام ولم يمسسني بشر ولم أك بغيا قال كذلك قال ربك هو علي هين ولنجعله آية للناس ورحمة منا وكان أمرا مقضيا فحملته فانتبذت به مكانا قصيا فأجاءها المخاض إلى جذع النخلة قالت يا ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا فناداها من تحتها ألا تحزني قد جعل ربك تحتك سريا وهزي إليك بجذع النخلة تساقط عليك رطبا جنيا فكلي واشربي وقري عينا فإما ترين من البشر أحدا فقولي إني نذرت للرحمن صوما فلن أكلم اليوم إنسيا فأتت به قومها تحمله قالوا يا مريم لقد جئت شيئا فريا يا أخت هارون ما كان أبوك امرأ سوء وما كانت أمك بغيا فأشارت إليه قالوا كيف نكلم من كان في المهد صبيا قال إني عبد الله آتاني الكتاب وجعلني نبيا وجعلني مباركا أينما كنت وأوصاني بالصلاة والزكاة ما دمت حيا وبرا بوالدتي ولم يجعلني جبارا شقيا والسلام علي يوم ولدت ويوم أموت ويوم أبعث حيا ذلك عيسى بن مريم قول الحق الذي فيه يمترون. And now for the translation. And mention in the book, O Prophet, the story of Mary when she withdrew from her family to a place in the east, screening herself off from them. Then we sent to her our angel Gabriel, appearing before her as a man, perfectly formed. She appealed I truly seek refuge in the most compassionate from you. So leave me alone if you're God-fearing. He responded, I am only a messenger from your Lord, sent to bless you with a pure son. She wondered, how can I have a son when no man has ever touched me? He replied, so will it be, your Lord says, it is easy for me, and so will we make him a sign for humanity and a mercy from us. It is a matter already decreed. So she conceived him and withdrew with him to a remote place. Then the plain pains of labor drove her to the trunk of a palm tree. She cried, alas, I wish I had died before this and was a thing long forgotten. So a voice reassured her from below her, do not grieve, your Lord has provided a stream at your feet, and shake the trunk of this palm tree towards you. It will drop fresh, ripe dates upon you. So eat and drink and put your heart at ease. But if you see any of the people say, I have vowed silence to the most compassionate, so I am not talking to anyone today. Then she returned to her people carrying him. They said and shook, O Mary, you have certainly done a horrible thing. O sister of Aaron, your father was not an indecent man, nor was your mother unchaste. So she pointed to the baby. They exclaimed, how can we talk to someone who is an infant in the cradle? Jesus declared, I am truly a servant of God. He has destined me to be given the scripture and to be a prophet. He has made me a blessing wherever I go and bid me to establish prayer and give alms tax as long as I live, and to be kind to my mother. He has not made me arrogant nor defiant. Peace be upon me the day I was born, the day I die, and the day I will be raised back to life. That is Jesus, son of Mary, and this is a word of truth about which they dispute. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zian. Again, for those of you, if you're interested, that was chapter 19, the passages 16 to 34, if I'm not mistaken. Inside, in our multi-purpose room where we had the meet and greet, we have an Islam information table. And I totally understand, many of you might be from different religions, and I totally understand that. So if you are interested, we do have free English and Spanish translations of the Quran inside. Should you ever want to pick it up and just read, you're most welcome. If you're not interested, not a problem at all. But moving on to our next guest, lunch. Yes. It's waking up just a little bit, no problem. So at this point, folks, what we're going to do is we're going to have lunch. So a few housekeeping things, or maybe some instructions rather. On your way out, you can, for our ladies, if you want to remove your headscarf, you're most welcome. We have a basket outside. One of our volunteers will be collecting it. You can just put it right inside there. You can, of course, remove your shoe covers once you get outside, not a problem. Or if you want to wait till you get inside, totally okay with you. Second thing is our food is going to be buffet style, self-serve. Our serving station is outside. So as you go out, you'll see instructions from our volunteers. As you get out and into the multi-purpose room, it's going to be the door to your far right. Again, the volunteers will be giving you instructions. We do have Persian food. They do have some veggie options there as well, should anybody be interested in veggie options. Once you do get your plate of food, you're going to come right back inside the multi-purpose room. And we're hoping that every table has a table captain that's Muslim. So this is a way for you folks to continue those conversations. Any questions that you folks have, this would be a great time over some delicious lunch to actually speak to your Muslim neighbor. And this is what we're hoping to build, that community and that relationship. So again, folks, thank you very much. And those stations inside, the henna table, the getting your name written in Arabic, if you didn't get a chance to do that, or you want to do a second henna tattoo or get tatted up, as they say, right? You're most welcome to do that. Not a problem. They'll be here as long as you guys need. But again, thank you all very much. So at this time, folks, if you want to exit out, the doors are here. Our volunteers, Brother Yahya and Yusuf, we can go ahead and open up those doors there, and our volunteers will come out, or our guests will come out. Thank you. You can leave the chairs and everything here, not a problem. If you have your waters, if you use your water, of course, you can take those waters with you. If they're not used, you can just leave them right there. Thank you so much.